Hi everybody, sanibonani. Welcome to my channel. Igama lami Ntando Mdletshe, and on this channel sikhulume ngama reality TV shows, ngama celebrities kanye nama YouTubers ethu Allah eMzansi. You know what? Recently I remembered something when it comes to my childhood. I remember when we were younger, and I am from rural areas of KZN, and we used to walk. A distance that now is considered a long distance, like the distance that we walked to school when I was younger, is like most of the kids that are supposed to be walking that distance now actually use transport to get to school because it was far. But at that time, it was normal for the kids to walk to school. And I remember, you guys, there was this thing that our parents will tell us, which was that we had to be careful of what they called imoto kaqonda. There was supposed to be this red car, you know, that all of us were supposed to be very careful of when we're walking to school. If you see this car, it was Qonda's car. I didn't even know who Qonda was. I didn't know if it was a movie character or whatever, but there was somebody called Qonda, and he drove a car, and we were supposed to be very careful when we are walking to school that Uqonda doesn't come and steal us. I don't know if Uqonda was supposed to be some human trafficker. I don't know if Uqonda was a pedophile, but there was supposed to be Uqonda, you guys. As I grew up, I realized that there was something that basically our parents created, and it was what our parents made up to warn us of strangers. You know, I don't know why they decided to do it that way in our community to create this character that I don't think ever existed. But every child will grow up knowing ukuthi there is imoto kaqonda and you are supposed to be scared of it. But I feel like our parents were just expressing that we were supposed to be very wary and careful around strangers, okay? To a point where we knew that Ukonda had a red car, but even if a car was not red, because you never know, as a child, you're thinking, yo, I never know. Maybe Konda now is driving a white car. So whenever a car would stop next to you as a child, you would take a step back because you have been warned of a stranger. And at the time when we were growing up, there wasn't a lot of cars that would be driving around in the community. Anyways, it was safe. It was as safe as it can be, basically, for the kids to be walking to school back then. And I remember there was never any child that went missing when we were younger, or a child that maybe was maybe the life of a child that was taken or something like that when we were younger. Those things never happened, but we knew that we had to be very careful of this stranger that might possibly come. So there was a level of danger that was there, but it was clear that it was supposed to be danger that would come from a stranger. Okay. So now that I think back, I'm thinking about how easy it was for our parents to actually give us that warning, and for us to actually understand the warning against strangers, because honestly it was simple. It was stranger danger. When you see a stranger, you see danger, and you are not supposed to interact with that stranger. So they had to make that stranger as dangerous as possible. You use your imagination, because nobody has ever seen Uqonda, but you had to use your imagination to see how dangerous it was. Whether Uqonda was going to steal you, whether Uqonda was going to abuse you or whatever, they never explained that. It was just that you make sure that he never catches you. And I'm thinking about how simple that was for our parents back then, because honestly at that time, the only thing that they knew to be a possible danger to us was like strangers. Okay, not to say that when we were growing up there were no kids that were hurt by people that were close to them, by, neighbors, by family members, but it wasn't so common. And I guess that it wasn't talked about a lot. So our parents never felt the need to warn us against people that we knew. They only warned us against the stranger. And even with strangers, it was just that stranger that drove a certain car. I don't know why it had to be like that. But now it's very sad, you guys, with the story that is going on right now, because obviously it's clear that as parents now, we can't just be warning our kids about, the dangers of strangers, because obviously they are not being harmed by strangers only. They are being harmed by people that are supposed to protect them. And it is so hard, because kids are now being harmed by, our neighbors. Kids are being harmed by our friends, people we go to church with, the pastors at church, the preachers, people are, kids are being hurt by other kids at school. There's a case here of one boy that was sexually abused by other boys at school. you know Kids are being harmed by family members. It used to be like uncles and distant cousins, and now kids are harmed by their fathers, and now it's grandmothers. Grandmothers, the people that, like, I know that if I go and I leave my kids with my mother, I can go anywhere in the world. I know they are safe, I know they are taken care of, I know they're going to eat, and I know that they're going to be warm. That's like the next best thing to a mother is a grandmother. This story is so sad for that the person that actually possibly, you know harmed these kids, it's somebody that was supposed to protect them, somebody that was supposed to offer a place of safety to them. And probably that's the reason that the kids, went with her, because they thought that this is, safe. This is the grandmother. They knew her, they were comfortable with her. And it's hard for me to think of those last moments that they had when they realized that they were not safe with this woman. You guys, we are talking about the young boys, uNqobile Zulu kanye noChiamo Rabanye, um, who whose lives were taken. You guys, they are from Soweto. The kids went missing. They went to school when they were supposed to come back. They did not come back, and a day or two later, the bodies are found. But the worst thing is that, of course, the bodies have been messed with, so there are body parts that are missing. You guys, for a parent to find your child's life, your child lifeless, but something has been done to the body, that is another level of pain. And then later on, they do find out ukuthi the grandmother of one of the boys was actually involved, possibly, in taking the lives of these innocent souls. Okay, this is what the story that they're telling. They're saying that on the day that this grandmother was arrested, actually her colleagues, because apparently she is a security guard, the colleagues went to visit her. You know how black communities are like. If you lost somebody in your family, they're going together, put some money together for mnikelo, and they're going to come to your family to give you some comfort and prayer. That's what they did. And they said that when they got there, they did not find her there. This is Moja reporting. They did not find her there in the house because she had gone to church, which they thought was strange. I mean, if you have a family member that has just passed, what are you doing really at church when you are supposed to be preparing for the burial and all of that? And then when she came back, of course, she was happy to see them, pretended that she was mourning until it was time for them to go. And then that's when the police arrived, and she was arrested, you guys. I'm wondering, you guys, at this point, like, because every time something like this happens, as a parent, I'm sure you blame yourself and you try and think of how you could have protected your child. And in the case where it's somebody that you or somebody that was supposed to be a grandmother to your child. What could these parents have done to protect their kids, honestly? Because this was somebody that was supposed to be protecting them too. It's a sad story, you guys. There is something that is happening in our communities where people will do anything and everything to have money. There's something about people not being content with what they have. There's something about people not wanting to wait for their turn or work hard and see if it works out or not. And they would rather do extreme things like these, things that are evil, so that they make money. And the sad thing about this woman is that there is a mention that she had lost two of her kids, in a similar way. So, there's obviously questions of whether now those kids that she lost also, possibly she did the same thing. People just did not suspect at the time. She's not the only one that has been arrested. There's also a boyfriend that was arrested with her, young boyfriend. I think she's like, there's like over 10 years difference between the two of them. So they have been arrested because both of them, of course, are suspected of being the ones that committed this horrible act, you guys. It's a sad story. I don't want to lie, I just feel sad about it. I feel sad. I feel sad for the parents of these kids. I feel sad for the community, because honestly, it's like, what can you do? Because then that means that these crimes are taking place in within households. Like, what can you do? You can't have police in the house now protecting the kids against their own mothers, their own fathers, their own grand parents. It's a sad thing to have to go through as communities, and I don't know, you guys, there's just too much happening. And to have like children affected like this, it's sad because it's like, what are we gonna do to protect our kids against people that are our own family members? Because you're never really going to know that a family member is dangerous until they have done something like this, and by that time it's too late. I do hope that you guys, our police force works over time to make sure that all the evidence that is needed to convict these two people that are, accused of this, and that they get the maximum punishment that they can possibly get. Because honestly, we cannot have people like this in our communities, and also we cannot have other people thinking that they can do things like this and get away with them. People have to understand that these things are not accepted in communities at all, you guys. Anyway, I hope ukuthi these two young boys' souls rest in peace. The names are Ngobile Zulu, who is 5 years old, and Uchi Yamorabanye, age 6 years old. They were so young. I hope that their souls rest in peace. And I hope that you guys, they do investigate those other two, because I do suspect that something might have been overlooked, because of course this is something that is was done by a family member. Anyway, thank you so much, you guys, for watching this video. Please like it before Pumegona, share it with your friends, with your family, and even with strangers. Ntanda kakhulu.